सो हेलो
Ta-da!
और पॉडकास्ट के एक और एपिसोड में वेलकम है। और आज आई थिंक आई एम रियली स्केर्ड। आई वाज टेलिंग माय गेस्ट टुडे दैट आई वाज रियली स्केर्ड टू टॉक टू हिम एंड आई विल टेल यू द रीजन व्हाई। आई मीन देयर आर स्टोरीज जो दे स्ट्राइक अ स्ट्रेंज कॉर्ड इनसाइड यू। आपके अंदर की छुपी हुई क्यूरियोसिटी, एक डायमेंशन। आई नो ऑल ऑफ अस वी आर हु हैव वर्कड और हु आर वर्किंग, उनको एक टेंडेंसी होती है कि सब छोड़ के चल दो, देखा जाएगा आगे पीछे क्या होगा। बट टू रियली टेक दैट स्टेप एंड टू एग्जीक्यूट इट, टू फॉलो इट, I think it's a bit difficult. So my guest today is Mr. Kartikey. बड़ी interesting story है and उतनी interesting इनकी books भी हैं. So he has written 3 different books regarding his journey. पहली है Dream Beyond Shadows, which is I think his journey about his travels in the Amazon forest. Then we have Life Unknown, जहाँ पे इनके Indian travels के बारे में है. Third is a fiction book called Unherd, जहाँ पे I think इन्होंने अपने experiences और अपनी philosophy बहुत अच्छे से शेयर करी है. कार्तिकेय, वेलकम ऑन द शो.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
That's cool, and you're looking very good today. And I'm having a very good vibe about this, along with the fact that मैं थोड़ा सा nervous हूँ.
Wearing a shirt my wife gave me, Like I never wore a color like this in my life, probably ever. And my wife gave this to me, and I'm wearing something red.
It goes with the look, though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm starting
कार्तिक,
to look more
अगर मैं
like my
आपसे
wife.
या सो मैं अगर आपसे पूछूं, आई थिंक मूवीज में होता है ऐसा, राइट? पीपल हु हैव अ जॉब इन द स्टेट्स, पहले तो लोग स्टेट्स जाने के लिए परेशान होते हैं, एंड देन टू गेट अ जॉब, एंड वी नो हाउ डिफिकल्ट इट इज. सो यू आर अ
Yeah.
पर्सन जो यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में ऑलरेडी थे, एंड आप वहां जॉब कर रहे थे, and then you leave it, right? And then you leave it, you travel through Amazon, you travel through India. तो मेरे को सबसे पहला मुझे आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछना है कि what is fear according to you, and what are you afraid of? Because जो traditional definitions हैं, you are already transcending them.
I think fear is a fear is fear is a choice, actually. You know what it is? Fear is a choice. And I think most of us, all of us, are just choosing that choice. We're just making that choice in our every moment, in our every day, in our life, instead of love, you know. And fear is, if you look at it from a universal space, where if all of us are consciousness and there's universe and we are a universe and everything is one. So what's happening is on a scientific level and on a consciousness level is universe is expanding, but there's also contraction, right? There's expansion and contraction at the same time, like a heart is expanding and it's contracting, expanding and contracting. It's a reflection of what's happening in nature. So that's the choice between fear or love. Either we are expanding or we are contracting. Unfortunately, the system we are living in of human society of today that has been created over centuries has become a very fear driven system. And the programming of it in our heads, since we take birth from our childhood with our parents, traditions, all these things are very deep. So we are conditioned to operate from a place of fear, which is a choice we are always making. So I think this association people have that fear is just a feeling or is just a thought, that's very limiting, because fear is something that is there before we are just the soul or we're just the consciousness. Like what stops us from just being into our consciousness, into that space of love and aliveness and life, just pure, there's no dark or light, just there something. Fears are those layers before that. So it's not like fear is going to stop coming. Actually, the layers of fear will always be there until we keep choosing to look at the fear or break past the fear, move past the fear, or if of being aware of the fear itself, knowing that this is the fear but not the true spirit inside me, the soul, the consciousness. uh, till that time we will never be able to break out of the programming, and be able to live a life that is not controlled, but completely open to a way of living where we're choosing love and expansion through our present moment and seeing what happens, trusting in life. There's a deep aspect of trust because fear makes you non trusting in yourself, in the world, in the people. And love and expansion makes you trusting in everything. Like there's a deep trust that evolves in you, which allows you to heal, actually. Yeah.
Indeed, I think fear is very primal as well. अगर हम
Yeah. It is.
anthropologically or historically भी देखें, fear is something that protects us. Sometimes it inhibits us as well. So dual nature है चीजों का.
What has happened with us, you're absolutely right. I think what has happened with us as human beings, or is happening, is we're completely disconnected from our primal nature, things that are coming from our biology, to
True.
the system that we have created, and how our consciousness needs to evolve to operate in that system from a freeness based on our primal natures. So things that like, for example, what are the primal fears? Primal fears are based around physical security, which can be shelter, which can be food, which can be water. All these things, if we don't have them secure, a part of us will always be like looking for, will always be not in peace. It will be like, it will be in survival mode, wanting that, which is what most of, like, ideally we need to bring all human society out of it, but even the ones who are out of it are still living life through that space, even when they can consciously choose to be aware of, like, my survival is secure right now, physical survival, my primal needs. Now the space I have in life, how can I expand in my consciousness and create out of that space? So I think that separation in our daily life, humans really struggle with doing now because of this programming of that fear survival mode just ingrained in us into every day, into whatever we are doing. And it's a proper system, bro. Actually, it's very deep. The system has become so complex and so deep in its programming of the fear of the survival into our daily life, into our psychology, into our subconscious, that we are not able to realize higher forms of intelligence, actually, which are beyond fear. We're not able to access them. We're not able to access गहराई में हम जा नहीं पा रहे हैं
I think
in some.
बहुत ब्यूटीफुली आपने बोला. आई गेट योर पॉइंट व्हेन यू से कि सिंस वी आर लिविंग इन फियर, हम वो हायर इंटेलिजेंस टैप ही नहीं कर पाते. अगर क्योंकि एट द एंड ऑफ द डे मेरे को जो लगता है, व्हाट इज कॉन्शियसनेस इज अ वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट थिंग्स फर्स्ट and then maybe transcending. तो आपकी जर्नी के थ्रू हम let's see this now. Let's talk about your first book, Dream Beyond Shadows. And I think there you talk about जैसे आपकी journey है from the state away to to the jungle of Amazons. So define me that moment. I mean, when you first land there, how, what did you feel exactly? What was going through your head? How was it?
I don't know, man. It was, it's crazy because almost, no, I am, yeah, I'm completing 7 years since that moment.
Yeah.
So it's very crazy right now, actually, because something similar is happening to me on an internal basis again, uh, in its capacity. But the way I am, because I've kind of been on this path for 7 years, so it's not like I'm breaking out of the path I'm on, but my path itself is evolving into something. So I'm actually reflecting a lot back into that time and the person I was. And I mean, bro, it's like looking back into, I don't know, some different lifetime ago, like it's so much has happened in these 7 years, and so much is happening now. And I really like feel, I mean, the person who left New York and who arrived in the Amazons, I mean, they were just two different people, in every way. And they, like, and the people, and from who I am today to who the person who left the Amazon, are also completely different humans. So I don't see life anymore as something like change happens once, because change can be either happening and you're not aware of it, or you become aware of it and you're making efforts to go into an exponential direction to change it for good or for bad. It can be both, based on how you perceive good or bad, right? But for me, the way I see, like, I have changed so much in these years through this journey of consciousness, in seeing the different layers. So, what you were saying is, we see things in this way. What is consciousness expansion? When we start seeing things with broader awareness, right? And then what we are seeing also gets broadened. So, when you are on this journey, it's like, there's no end to how much you will expand. There's no end to how much you will see. There's no end to it. अंत नहीं है. तो ये जो हमारा एक कॉन्सेप्ट बना हुआ है, with time and with end and with life, like birth and death, it's a very limited concept actually, because it's based around the the theory that life begins with this body and it ends with this body, you know. But that's very limited. That's just the material structure going back into the soil or dissolving into the fire and the water. But the consciousness is not just that. It's much expanded, and it's like a deep network that is in everything, in everyone, in all life, in all objects, even everything that we see and experience. There is some form of connection going on, and it's a network. It's like a matrix. It's all like interconnected somehow. And once we start expanding into that all the time, even through a lot of contractions that happen in life, because they're gonna happen. um, you stop looking at one moment and giving it too much importance. Yes, some moments can be like, they did change my life, like leaving New York and going to Amazons and living with tribes and plant medicine. But I don't give it, I'm giving it less importance now, because every moment is what it is. It's whatever is meant to be is happening. All we are doing is choosing to make every moment about expansion or contraction, you know. And me going into Amazon from New York was a choice of exponential expansion, right?
Wow.
And me choosing from Amazon to coming to India to living the life I'm living now and trying to live what I'm living now, it's still exponential expansion. Like, I am very different today than who I was yesterday, actually. And this is possible for all of us, because this is actually what's happening. It's just we are limiting ourselves into our experience of life and consciousness.
I get your point actually. As you said, Ki, we all are on our own journey, right? Some are at maybe at a different stage, some are at a different level. And as you said, right, to view life as just between, birth and death, it's quite limiting. But how I see it is, it's quite meaningful as well. I mean, I think death gives perspective to everything. Uh, I was
Said,
talking
what
to
gives perspective to everything?
death, I think the end, it gives meaning to everything. So I was just talking to a guest on this podcast, and he was telling one of a very lesser known figures in Hindu mythology. He goes by the name of Kartavirya Arjun. So he was nearly an immortal. So he goes on a conversation with his wife that how he has lived through ages and has seen his children and wife go in front of him, and how his life has no meaning as such, maybe. So for me, I think death gives life a real meaning. And indeed, what you said is true as well, that we all are living through transformation. Every day is a transformation. When we are in the moment, I think every day is a transformation. So I find it very beautiful what you said.
So, I mean, it's there's no right or wrong, right? Everything is somehow connected to each other. Your experience is mine, your words mine, like it's all going into a flow. And the life and death limitation of it is thinking of life and death as we are born one day in a physical body, and that physical body will die, like that we're limiting life and death just to one sequence is what I find limiting. What I'm saying to you is we're living and dying every moment. And this is science because our cellular structure, is being created and dying every moment on a biological level. And our consciousness is changing every moment. We're living and dying. And the more we can bring consciousness into it, to be realizing every moment I'm different. I can be different. I'm realizing something new. Blah, 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 blah. So instead of making this picture of our life as from when we are born to when we die, these two events, and seeing as this limitation is like, I need to figure out what to do in this period and bring meaning into my life because I'm going to leave this body one day. Instead of limiting ourselves to that, we can look at it like this moment is my last moment and my first moment. And every moment will be like that. And I have the opportunity to create in this moment or destroy in this moment, and or live by fear or live by love. When we make it so micro instead of such big, we make it so micro, then our micro things make the life big. You understand? So instead
I
of
get it.
looking at life from like this angle, we start looking at life from this angle, internal to external. And this is what I feel like humans need nowadays, because what's happening with social media. The world has become so connected. Like, for example, there's a war happening in Israel now. We all know about it all the time. It's on social media, right? There's war happening everywhere, blah blah blah. We're all connected to all the information all the time. And sometimes the problems and the world just being seems too big, where we feel helpless, like we cannot do anything to help people. Like, we're sitting here, how can we help people? People are dying, millions are suffering, blah 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 blah. And that's happening. But us arriving in states of helplessness and not being able to do is also fair, because we're looking, the situations are so vast, and one person we feel like cannot do anything, right? But what we can actually do is change ourselves internally, change our vibration, and work through that to be creating a life of, let's say, what we would want for those people. What we would want for those people is love and peace, right? That's what we want. We don't want them to be hating or in wars. So that's what we need to create in our lives first, with our relationships, with our families, with our friends, with our work, like all these things, with our neighbors, where we live. Like, that is something we can actually do. It's in our control. So,
Yeah.
and that is something we can do now, like in this moment, not thinking like before I die I need to become prime minister so I can make
Be
world
happy.
peace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sure, you can
Yeah.
do that, but that's something that's just thinking, creating something too big for something in the future to be solved. What you can do today, now, and that micro to macro approach, I think, works better with humanity. Like, you need purpose in this moment, no? Like, what's
Is it?
your purpose in this moment? So, like, if you have that, you figure out this moment, and then the next moment you'll figure out in the next moment. So it's yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Like, I hope this explains it better, because I was trying to explain something very abstract, but now I've tried to explain with example.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, how I see it and what I understood is, as you said, that is the only thing we can change. How we feel, how we see things internally. That is, I think, the only thing that is in our control. In all honesty, and what you said just, I just remembered a quote which says that, a man cannot step in the same river twice, as he is not the same man and it's not the same river. So every moment we are just living through transformations, going through things, and